All right, it is Sunday, February 4th, 2024, and time for our Q&A. I did, when I posted the notice that this is coming up, I did say 7 o'clock-ish, and it's definitely ish. Let's see what it is, about 7:28. So to my left, I do have some wonderful guests from TikTok actually watching us um, watching us live as I talk to you. They're watching me here, firing off some questions. Um, and please, on TikTok, be patient with me. If anybody asks a question, if anybody has the answer, just answer it. Otherwise, once I'm done talking to my friends on YouTube and Facebook and elsewhere, um, the it's got a question come in via text asking about stock versus aftermarket DPFs. That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to better manage these questions. So we collect questions throughout the week and then answer them live here. If you have any other questions you want to ask, you may text your question to this number, 404-999-1361. The same here. If you're on TikTok, you can ask there, but otherwise, if you have any questions that come in, 404-999-1361, just text them over. We will get them to you shortly. I'll get to them shortly. Also, I'll be talking a bit about this fuel additive. It is Clean Air Fleet, and we did a lot of research for about 2 years to get that figured out. And I mean, it's good feedback from customers using that. And so we'll be talking more about the fuel additive as well. So anyway, thank you for joining us. We are DPF Guys based in Atlanta, Georgia. We focus 100% on diesel aftertreatment services for anything with a diesel engine and an emission system. Most of our customers are truck drivers and fleets. Some fleets are huge. Some fleets are, 4 or 5 trucks, but we'll take care of them all, owner operators, etc. But we also service aftertreatment for off-road equipment, diesel passenger vehicles, stationary equipment with DPF systems. And again, stationary meaning generators, pumps, rock crushers, the big tippers at the landfill, etc., and more. Like to say, if it's got a DPF, we can and will clean it. Disclaimer, you should always talk to your mechanic about any concerns you have with your engine or truck, and any pricing discussed here may or may not apply to you and should only be used as a guideline and is not any form of official quote from any services by DPF Guys or anybody else for that matter. So anyway, let's get started here. You know what? First question is, does gasoline not dissolve the gunk in the EGR cooler? And so what I need to do is show you where this question came from. Did a TikTok video and of this EGR cooler that was really, really junked up. So I'm going to open this here and let me play that for you.
They told me this EGR cooler was a little dirty inside.
So they said, this little bugger is going to be a tough one. And then they laughed and ran away. Let's see what they meant by that. Oh, sweet mother of God. You have to look at this. Are you ready? I'm going to need my flashlight. Here we go. Oh, look, my goodness gracious. That is jeez Louise. How on earth was that truck even running? I'm going to need a special tool for this. Let's go get one. I pull a special tool. All right, so we got here. Nope. Yeah, that'll work. I've got my special tool. Let's give it a try. I got this from Snap-on. It was only $600, but I got a free hat. So I got that going for me. Let's see what I can do. That is literally you. What I'm doing is I just want to get some of this out so I can test a couple things on it. This reminds me of if you crush up Oreos. Let me get some of that Oreo out of there. Yeah, I really can't describe it any differently. It feels like Oreo. Let me taste it. Doesn't taste like Oreo. I'm a professional. I didn't really. Don't try that at home. I'm going to put this in some solvent and see if it starts to soften up. I am just curious to see what we can use to actually break that down. I am not willing to accept defeat lightly. Okay, so you get the point. So that was the TikTok video. Again, if you don't follow me on TikTok, jump over there. Make sure you follow me because there's a lot of cool stuff over there. In that particular video, got over 100,000 views and is continuing to go. And it is literally the nastiest EGR cooler that I've ever seen. FYI, it's off a Cummins 6.7 engine. And yes, I believe gasoline would likely loosen the gunk of the EGR cooler, but working with gasoline is challenging for safety and disposal. So it's really not a practical method to do at any sort of scale like we do. I do have a formulation that doesn't use anything petroleum based, and I'm seeing how that goes. Have a video tomorrow showing the results. Fingers crossed. So if you have any EGR cooler issues, give us a call or a text 404-999-1361. And like I said, if you don't follow me on TikTok, please jump over there. And those of you who are watching on TikTok, if you don't currently subscribe to the DPF Guys channel on YouTube, please do so. Question number 2. Oh, you know what? I forgot to actually put these on the screen. I'm so excited talking to everybody. And again, this is about the EGR cooler. And the question is the cooler leaking coolant? So we pressure test the EGR coolers before we start. And if they fail that test, we just stop, don't proceed. No sense in, moving ahead with it if it's not, if it doesn't pass the pressure test. And consider them condemned if they don't pass. This unit, as messy as it was, did pass the pressure test, and it's possible that it is so coated with carbon that literally the buildup of carbon is plugging up the coolant leaks, and it will begin leaking once it's cool or cleaned, I should say. We also test for coolant in the soot. Thank you, Red Repair. Red, if you're listening, this is a shout out to you. This was his idea. Follow Red Repair's channel. He's got some great, great advice over there on TikTok. But what we did based on his suggestion is buy coolant test strips. We take a sample of the soot out of the EGR cooler, mix it with some water, dip in the coolant test strip, and see if it picks up any coolant. And this one did not have any coolant in it. So it should be okay once it's clean, but time will tell. All right, question number 3. And I tell you, this EGR cooler video brought in many great questions. So I've got 1.2 million miles on my original EGR cooler on my DD15. How is that possible with that looking so bad? Well, I can sum this up as Cummins 6.7. Cummins 6.7, good engine, but has a tendency to run super dirty after about 250,000 miles when the injectors begin to leak and overfuel. If you have a Cummins 6.7, I don't know, like a Freightliner M2 or something like that, and you have 250,000 miles on or more, it's almost certain that you will need a 6-pack of injectors. And no, this does not, issue does not throw a code, which is unfortunate. You can pull the injectors and get them tested, but even if you find out, let's say injector 1 and 4 test bad, and you're like, well, I'll just replace 1 and 4. Well, injectors, 2, 3, 5, and 6 are not far behind. So I'd recommend replacing the entire 6-pack of injectors. So, if you got to come in 6.7, those things run really sooty after about 250,000 miles. And the particular one with this EGR cooler really, really was bad. But it was just a 6.7 doing what 6.7s do. Number 4, if that was the cooler, again, this is all about that one EGR cooler. What about the rest of the system? Well, I did not have the pleasure of looking at the rest of the system, but I suspect that it is a mess. And once I get this EGR cooler cleaned, hopefully, again, fingers crossed to get it clean, I'm going to find out what went on with that truck, what possibly caused that level of gunk in the EGR cooler. All right, moving along. Number 5, if you watch the entire video, again, jump over to TikTok and check it out if you haven't seen it already. I did take some of the Clean Air Fleet additive and scraped out some of the junk in the EGR cooler and mixed it with about 8 ounces in a container. And yes, It did break it down. So the question is, so the additive broke down what you put in the cup. So why not soak the EGR cooler in it for at least 2 hours and go from there? And yes, the Clean Air Fleet additive did break down the crumbs of built up carbon, and I did exactly what you suggested. And that reminds me, let me show you the short video from Clean Air Fleet now so you can check it out. Again, Clean Air Fleet is a diesel additive. Obviously not the only additive on the market. There are many of them. But I have found that Clean Air Fleet has worked very well for my customers and also other people that have just talked to me about it. 1 gallon is about $40. I think 36.95, something like that, and we'll treat 320 gallons of diesel fuel. But let me show you the little 2-minute commercial from Clean Air Fleet and see what you think. Hold on a second here. Jump over and all right, let's do it. Hold on a second here. There we go.
Attention fleet owners. Have record high fuel, truck, and repair costs crushed your bottom line? Many are struggling to balance cheap freight with record inflation. Does your fleet ever have any fuel or emission system issues? Many fleets report over 50% of their repairs are emissions related. Are you short-staffed and neglecting your maintenance routine? Worker shortages are causing record labor rates and downtime waiting for repairs. Are you ready for a proven solution the dealership just doesn't have? Sick of throwing the same parts at it over and over? Join the thousands of customers already working with the Clean Air Fleet program of patented technology engineered and made in America and proven over one.
Oh, real quick. So we'll get back to the video in a second here. But I think the important thing to remember about the Clean Air Fleet additive is you can use the additive by itself, but the Clean Air Fleet company has also created a filtration system for your fuel, a bypass filtration system for your oil, and a dosing tank that can go on the back of your cab. And the idea of the dosing tank is you can carry a larger amount of the additive, so it's a bit cheaper to buy, and you can dose it much more precisely, so you only use what you need to use. You're not wasting it, which again keeps your cost per treated gallon down. Its cost per treated gallon should be about 8 or 10 cents usually, just so you know. Anyway, back to the video.
Million miles and 20 plus years in business, with performance backed with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Clean Air Fleet separates the science from the snake oil with technology that exceeds minimum OEM specs for increased longevity. Tracked with engine data showing 50% less DPF region cycles and 40% less NOx emissions, and an increased MPG giving a 6-month return on investment. Tired of the trucking industry inefficiency, parts and service shortage? Take a stand and protect your investment and your livelihood.
This particular truck, we had the motor fail in it at 600,000. When we put another motor in it, we went to this oil system at the time we put the motor in it, and that's the motor that went to 1.4 million miles.
Freight rates and high fuel prices are disrupting the industry. Now is the time to implement the patented, proven performance program from Clean Air Fleet.
This truck has 310,000 miles on it now. It's never once done a part regen.
Manufacturing our patented products here in the USA in our state-of-the-art facilities, ensuring the highest quality for your equipment. Learn from other industry professionals who have effectively deleted their emission issues by using Clean Air Fleet low-emission diesel additive and high-efficiency fuel and oil purifiers.
I highly recommend this product and think you should try it too.
Contact us today to see if your fleet qualifies for a 100% money-back guaranteed pilot study. Backed with real-world proof, you have nothing to lose.
There you have it. Anyway, I hope that was helpful as far as learning more about the additive Clean Air Fleet. If you do want to learn more about the additive, simply text additive to 404-999-1361, 404-999-1361, and we will get you some more details on that and give you a link to order it. Anyway, so the question was, we got number 5 here. Why not to soak the EGR cooler? So what I actually did is exactly what you were talking about. I when we do testing of the EGR coolers, we plug off both ends and we'll pressurize the EGR cooler. So I took one of those rubber plugs, put it in one end of the EGR cooler, set it upright in a 5-gallon pail so nothing would get out, and filled it up. unfortunately, I stupidly didn't realize that the petroleum product that's part of the additive would kind of eat up the soft non non-petroleum rated rubber, and sure enough, everything leaked out of it. But the next day, the additive definitely did soften that up. It did break down all of the chunks that were soaking in it, and so I wasn't able to actually do a complete test. 'Cause everything did leak out, which is a bummer. But maybe next time. All right, but I'll tell you that if you run the additive, it will prevent that sort of buildup in injectors and other parts of your engine. And if you want to learn more about that, text additive to 404-999-1361. All right, another question about cleaning the EGR coolers. So this must have come in from somebody that does DPF cleaning, because they said, I always wanted to try putting one in the DPF kiln. It's all stainless. Curious if it'll survive. And my response is, I'll save you the experience. So EGR coolers are actually made of aluminum, not stainless. So they have a melting temp of about 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just a pinch hotter than your oven temp, which is probably around 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you put the EGR and cooler into that heat, you would definitely damage it. Otherwise, you can turn your oven temperature down to around 750, and that is below, the melting temperature of aluminum. But at that temperature, you will then remove the annealing and begin to weaken the metal and the welds, which will cause the EGR to fail either immediately or in the field. So some people recommend putting them in the oven, but I have found that the baking process will cause the EGR failure too often to make the process practical and safe. If you want to try it, go ahead. But I think your results will probably be a little bit painful, so I recommend against it. All right, question number 7. This is actually about DPF cleaning. We get a lot of this, which is, how often should I get it done? Um, and so the question is, what about 3/4 1-ton trucks, 2020 Silverado 2500, about to hit 100K? How often do those DPFs need to be cleaned? So first off, if you go to the dealership, they'd say, well, you can't clean them; they have to be replaced, and that's not true. They can be cleaned as long as you have the proper process to do it. So this gentleman's 2020 Silverado 2500 is about halfway to its first DPF cleaning, assuming that those miles are mostly over the road. If you idle a lot, look at the engine hours and get it cleaned at about 4,000 hours, which would equal about 200,000 miles. Get some good fuel additive. Clean Air Fleet. I feel like such a, but I like the guys that make it, and the product does work. Get some good fuel additive in that truck, and there's no reason you can't go to 200,000 or even 300,000 miles before it needs cleaning. Obviously, if the truck starts to ask for it, or if the truck is requesting, parked regens, then maybe do it sooner. But the number one recommendation I would make to anybody that's driving a light duty or medium duty vehicle with a diesel engine, Ram 2500, 3500, Ford F350, 250, 450, that sort of stuff, that for some reason the newer models of those trucks are really finicky about your air filters. So if you've got a newer truck with maybe 20, 30,000 miles on it, and you swapped out the air filter, but you put in an aftermarket air filter, because why not? That can often plug up your DPF so quick. And you go to the dealership and they'll say, well, congratulations, you need a new DPF. And really you don't. You just need you need to put an OEM filter on that. For some reason, OEM air filters just work better than the aftermarket. So I've seen aftermarket filters cause excessive DPF clogging on newer light medium duty trucks, and I realized this is odd. OEM filters just work on the for some reason OEM filters just work on the newer trucks, and aftermarket filters cause issues. Weird thing is that the aftermarket air filter may actually flow better than the OEM, which might make it seem like it would actually work better, but the engines are tuned to such high tolerances that too much air can actually cause them to burn less efficiently. And yes, I know that is odd. Don't ask me why. I'm a DPF guy and not an engineer. which means I'm also a lot more fun at parties. No offense to any engineers out there. All right, number 8. In heavy equipment, I regen my loader once a week, or it'll go about 2 weeks and I'll want a parked regen. Does that hurt anything? No, a forced regen once a week is fine. I'm going to say I recommend using an additive like Clean Air Fleet in that equipment to keep it going, but keep doing what you're doing. If the regen ever stops working, or if the machine ever starts asking for a parked regen more often, let me help you out and get that thing clean. Watch the engine hours. When that thing starts to get around 3,000 hours, you're probably due for a cleaning. If it starts asking for parked regens more often, you're due for a cleaning. But I would say that at about 3,000 or 4,000 engine hours, you're going to want to get that cleaned and get it done before, if you have an off season, get it done then, so it doesn't shut you down when you're in the middle of making money somewhere, because that's a pain in the ass. All right. Number 9, and I kind of got, someone kind of chastised me here. As a DPF guy, you should know that any additive just accumulate more ash and shortens the life of the DPF filter. Now, the only thing that's not accurate about this is saying any additive, because yes, many of the additives do have an ash component. So yes, that's true. Some additives do actually add ash to their formula, and that ash can have some benefits in the engine, but the added ash will build up faster in the DPF, hence shortening the the life of the DPF. Well, maybe not the life of the DPF, but shortening the intervals between getting the DPF cleaned. And I love that, because I make more money. However, that's another reason why the Clean Air Fleet solution is something we like, because Clean Air Fleet has 0 added ash, which keeps your DPF system happy longer. So there you have it. Actually, if you use Clean Air Fleet, you have to see me less often. And you can come see me and buy more Clean Air Fleet, right? All right, last question, number 10. I have an old EGR. What could the price be? What's the price to get it ready to run? Well, first off, send it to us or bring it in and we'll test it for free. If it passes the test, your EGR can be cleaned for about $220. So give us a call or a text at 404-999-1361. So there you have it. Your questions, my answers. Thank you to everybody for watching. Please leave your questions and comments below, or text your questions directly to us at 404-999-1361. And for those of you who like to read versus listen, 404-999-1361. If you do want to learn more about the Clean Air Fleet additive, please text the word additive to 404-999-1361. And definitely don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If anybody's watching right now live and wants to jump over to TikTok and look up DPF Guys, we're going to be continuing this conversation on TikTok. So if you have any questions, please jump over there. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a safe week, and we will see you next week.